Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather every day to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today with us, Angel Rebo, CEO consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, along with Judy Hoberman. She is the president of Walking on a Glass Floor and Selling in a Skirt. She is an international speaker, trainer, executive coach, author, and radio show host. They are going to be having a very special guest, and they're going to tell you exactly who she is in just a moment. Before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you have ways to help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is gonna benefit of the content that we're gonna be talking here today. Also, while we are live streaming, like right now, we have the active chat is the screen that you're going to be seeing here on my side or below if this is a smartphone where you're seeing us from. And through there, you can interact with us. You can enter your questions, and at the end of the interview, they will be kindly answered. Last but not least, Mindalia broadcasts daily in Portuguese through Mindalia Televisão, English to Mindalia TV English, and as you know, also Spanish through Mindalia Televisión. And we want you to join us to visit our different channels to find out the information that we're developing there daily, information as beautiful and as interesting as the one that you see daily in Mindalia TV. We also want you to collaborate with us with your own valuable content. And for that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to be finding a link. It says Collaborate with Mindalia. You are going to be directed to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to get in contact with you. I'm not going to delay this any further. I am going to leave you with Angel, Judy, and our very special guest, Amy Chodroff. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Mirna, for this wonderful introduction. I was thinking the other day when we were at the show that sometimes we don't tell our audience at Mindalia TV where we are. We're actually broadcasting online. We're in different places. Mirna is always in Florida, in actually North Florida, in the Orlando area. And today we have a coincidence that actually all three of us, the conversation among all three of us actually is going to start physically from the same state. And probably we are like 15 miles or 20 miles away one from each other. So we are right now in Dallas, Texas, in the US. And that doesn't happen very often. It's a cold day, but beautiful. And I would like to say something about Judy, because we are here every single Tuesday morning on Mindalia TV, but we don't make her enough justice. So I would like to say something about her today to start with. So she was already introduced. We know about the Walking on the Glass Floor initiative, about selling in a skirt. But what has been that? What was the point in your career, Judy, that made you work and so strongly about making the workplace much more fair for women? What was that turning point for you, Judy?
Well, thank you for that, Angel. I think the turning point for me was when I realized I was the only woman and there was no one that looked like me or acted like me. And I had to come up with my own playbook of how to actually become successful. So every day I would jot down little notes, this doesn't work, this works, or whatever. And once I started being successful, more of the men would start to ask my opinion. And that's when I knew that there was something I was doing that was inclusive, but also made me stand out for what I was, made them stand out for what they were, but working together made it such an asset rather than a liability. So that started decades ago, and it just continued.
And do you think that today, the same feeling that you had that day in which you realized that you were the only one thinking like you did, is it still happening today in the workplace? Is that still happening?
I do. I believe that it is still happening. It has changed somewhat, but the needle hasn't moved where it needs to be. And I'm not saying it has to be all women or all men. There has to be a good percentage of diversity. And you and I talk all the time about diversity of thought. If everybody is exactly the same, then there's no diversity of thought. We might as well just hire ourselves. But I think that today more and more people are getting that notion that it's time to open up the doors and let people that are different come in and share their ideas and their thoughts and their values and their comments and whatever. So it is happening. There are a lot of industries that are still very heavily male dominated, and getting in there is hard. But once you get in, you have to help redefine culture. And that's what we do.
And when you say male dominated, do you mean that there's literally a domination?
When I say male dominated, it means that there's mostly men. Mostly men. And it could be all men, and it could be one woman, or it could be, 90% male, 10% women. It could be 50-50, and it's still very heavily thought towards how the way that men think, the way that men ask questions, the way that men sell, the way that men, whatever they do, it's a difference. But I talk about differences, not about better or worse, because I think from the differences comes these amazing opportunities.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Let's go for this amazing guest that we have today from, again, the North Texas area. So please go ahead.
Okay, so as I talked about being the only female in male-dominated industries, we have Amy Chodroff, who also is the only female morning show, radio show host in the Dallas area. And it might be even beyond the Dallas area. But I remember her saying to me one day that she was in a meeting, and she said to her co-host, "Do you notice anything different about this room?" And he didn't. And she showed him, she said, "I am the only female." And all of a sudden he realized that she was the only female. But she is brilliant. She's a great interviewer. She asks the right kind of questions. She is full of ideas and insight. She's a very special woman. She's a very special friend of mine. She brings to the table so many different things. And what I love about her is that she is real. When you ask her a question, you're going to get her opinion, as opposed to what she thinks other people want to hear. And so I love Amy, and I'm so excited that you're here. So welcome to the show, Amy.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you for that awesome introduction, Judy. That's amazing. I love you guys too. And, I'm in radio, and it's used to be the old boys club. And I felt like I had to be part of that old boys club, and really couldn't be myself for a long time. I've been doing this for 30 years. And I think probably in the last 10 years, I felt like I can be myself. And that's been really freeing and exciting, and helped me advance my career. So it's been a lot of fun.
And Amy, what is that thing that makes you wake up every morning before 5 a.m.?
I wake up long before 5 a.m. I wake up at 3 a.m. every single morning. It's just the excitement of being on the radio and being able to tell stories to people and to get people thinking and engaged. We do a news and information program where basically we talk the news. We do actual news stories, but then we kind of go a little further and in depth, me and my co-host, and we like to get people thinking, oh, how would I react to that? Or what do I think about that? So it's not just telling you the news, but it's actually getting you actively involved in the news.
And she asks the right questions. That's the good part, Angel, is when she's interviewing someone, it's not just, so tell me about this. She gives them a scenario, or she gives them something that's going on, and she said, so what's your opinion about that? So it's a very interactive interview. It's not just something that she is preaching or she's just interrogating. It's really more of a conversation, but it's a powerful conversation.
My favorite question to ask is, what went through your mind when something happens? Because that really gets people to open up to you. Because sometimes you get the one-word answers, and that's really hard to do an interview like that. I know, Judy, you do your radio show, and you've done a whole radio shows where people give you one-word answers, yeah. and it's really difficult sometimes to get people to open up. So if you ask a question like that, they think, oh, it's okay, I can talk. So that's a favorite question of mine that I like to ask.
Do you think that people relate to feelings as well?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. We tend to like to get real people on our show instead of officials, as I would say, because they can tell the story, and they relate more to the listeners. and the listeners can relate more to them. And they had the firsthand experience. You've talked to, you know, a police officer who was at the scene. It's different than talking to someone who was actually part of whatever was happening or part of the event. So we always try to get real people on. It connects much better, and they tell the story much better. It's all about telling stories.
Yeah, and I know that sometimes when there's a tragedy that happens and you get the person, like we helped you get the person from France, remember, or was it Belgium? We had Belgium,
right.
From Belgium, and then from Parkland. So sometimes when you hear these horrible things going on, when you can get the real story, and when Amy can get that person on her program, you actually uncover it all. It's not just, well, this is what happened. You know, she does ask that question. So what was going through your mind, and tell us about what, you know, what your thoughts were, and so on and so forth. So it's a much different news program, but much different talk show program. It really is. It really, I love it. And we also got the Colonel to start listening to it in the morning instead of the other news program. So that's also really exciting.
It just makes it hit home more when you have that more of that raw emotion from someone who actually experienced it. And it's the power of story. I mean, it's really how we connect, because we're telling stories all the time, day after day, whether it's, you know, to our friends, you know, who you're just gossiping with on the phone, or you're in business, you're telling a story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at Mindalia TV, Amy, as you know, our mission is to increase the consciousness level of the planet and help people develop their human potential. You know, I know for a fact that you guys do something really, really similar to that. I mean, people really need to be listening to what you say. Have you ever had a specific story that comes to your mind right now in which you think, wow, I mean, with that example, with that story, we've really helped a ton of people?
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot. I didn't think about that. Well, we've done so many interviews and stories about people with health issues and things like that, and obviously that information can help someone else. I recently did an interview with a woman who actually knew some of the victims in Pittsburgh of the synagogue shooting there. And I think it just brought it home to a lot of people, because it's hard to relate to something that maybe happened 1,500 miles away. But this woman actually grew up with two of the victims, and she attended the funeral, and she lives in Dallas. And just the fact that she told her story and humanized these two people, I think it really made the listeners able to relate and connect with what happened 1,500 miles away. And a lot of times that's what we try to do on the radio, is we try to localize a national story, because we want to make it relatable to people here. Like, why should I care here for something that happened in New York City? Or why should I care in Dallas what happened in LA or in Pittsburgh? And we try to localize it so you will care about it, and maybe how it affects your community or your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Angel, did you know that their program is the #1 program, and that she's #1? Do you know that? Because I'm telling you that, and she should be able. And here's one of the things. I mean, women don't like to brag; they don't. But I am bragging for Amy, because they are #1, and she is #1 for how many years? 15 years.
We've gotten best news anchor team in the state of Texas for I don't even know how many years. I've lost count. But yeah, you're right. We've gotten it a lot of years. Well, we work well together. And I mean, I call my co-host Dave Williams my work husband, you know, but and we're friends, and we're colleagues, and it's enjoyable to go to work every day.
Do you think it's the dynamics male-female that work so well together, or is it just the two personalities? Yeah.
Well, I think it's a little of our personalities, but I think the male-female dynamic, you know, works really well. We can tease each other on the air, and we can have fun, but yet we can be serious at the same time. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So, okay, so now that you've set the stage, thank you very much, Judy.
That's why they pay me the big bucks, Angel.
Exactly. So my question is, what's the secret formula? Is there a formula to be consistently for so many years in there? So that is that an award? Is it called colleagues?
It's from the Associated Press, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You submit your work, and then they have a team, a panel of people from outside of your market. So maybe someone from Los Angeles is voting on the people in Dallas, and someone in Chicago is voting on the people from New York. And they listen to all the entries, and then they cast their votes. So I mean, it's hard to create chemistry between people. I mean, there are some people that you can be on the air with who are you just don't have that magic. You know, it's sort of hard to explain, but I think our chemistry really works. So, but I've worked with a lot of men, and I've been the only woman for years, you know. And like I said, I felt like I had to be part of the old boys network, and now I feel like I can just be who I am and be myself, which is freeing and great.
So is there a secret formula that you could share with us? So, you know, Judy and I will learn with you today.
Good chemistry, Angel.
You guys have good chemistry. You know what? Just to listen to each other and to laugh at each other's jokes and
support each other.
Just support each other and just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be who you are. You know, and I think that really comes through on the radio when you're being true to yourself and you're being genuine. I think people can relate to that, and it really comes through. And I'm 100% genuine on the radio, like you said, Judy. And I think people can connect to that and relate to that, and they like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not someone else. I mean, who I am on the radio is who I am in person, and vice versa. And you're not going to get something different.
But that's what a great leader is, also very authentic. And I think that's something that we all, you know, that's what we want to be. We want to be authentic. When people keep saying to you, oh my God, I'm so authentic, are they convincing themselves? Or are they truly authentic? Because if you are authentic, you shouldn't have to announce that you are. Other people will know that. Because I always say I'm the same exact person if I'm speaking on stage or if I'm here or anywhere else. That's me. This is who you get.
Right.
And it's the same thing with you. It's the same thing with you, Angel. You know, sometimes like when we meet and we have coffee or something, you're the same exact person as you are sitting there, or when you're on stage, or when we're at a conference. It's the same. That's who you want. You want that person to show up every day as that person. Doesn't mean that you have to be this pillar of strength. It's just, this is who I am. This is who it is. And I think that's what makes it so appealing to listen to your show, because I know when you're off the air, I know you might be tired and everything, but when you're off the air, you are, because I'm looking at you right now. Okay. So you've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And you're the same person that I see, you know, like when we go out to dinner, we go to lunch or do this. You're the same person. It's not any different. And I think that's what part of the magic is.
And it's not always easy. I'll be 100% honest with you. I mean, there are days when you don't feel well and you still have to perform. I mean, you're not that you're acting, but you're still in the entertainment business. So I may grumble and I may not feel well, and then as soon as I turn that mic on, here I am, because that's the way that you have to be, you know? So we all have days, just like anyone else. So,
what is? I mean, do you have your program specifically? So it goes out when, so people can reach out to you. When can we, you know, listen to you every day?
It's 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time, and it's on AM 570 KLIF, and you can listen to us online at klif.com. And I believe we have all the apps and stuff that you can download too. So you can listen that way.
And what's the goal? Do you have a specific goal or mission in your program?
Just news and information to inform people, to get people going in the morning, to make them laugh. We like to laugh and have fun. We just want you to feel good about starting your day and to be informed and maybe say, hey, you know what I heard on the radio this morning? Did you know this? Did you know that? Or guess what, you know, Amy's doing, or guess what Dave's doing? You know, that kind of thing.
So you kind of set the tone for the day.
Right. And we give, you know, traffic and weather and that kind of stuff. But we just want people to feel good about starting their day and not to be grumpy when they're going into work.
Now, wouldn't that be awesome, Angel, if everybody that went into work every day went in happy and all their whole thought is about making someone else enjoy the day? Wouldn't that be a special way to start the day?
Oh, absolutely. And then exactly, at Mindalia TV, actually, that's our obsession. Is like, how can we help people who are watching us, you know, to deal with their lives? You know, we are all running, from one place to the other. We are all so stressed. We never live in the present moment, so that we really have difficult lives. So that's why what you do is definitely related to the number of people and the quality of help that you provide all your audience. We're talking about how many people do you know the numbers? How many people typically?
Oh, I don't know, tens of thousands every day.
Okay.
But one of the things about me and Dave will tell you is everyone loves my laugh, because it's very loud and infectious, and it's my laugh. I don't try to embellish it. It's just the way it is, and I think that makes people feel really good. And people always are writing in and saying, "Hey, you really made me laugh today. You made me feel good about myself." So it's fun when I'm able to do that and start someone's day off in a great way.
And do you interact with your audience in those 3 hours?
No, we don't take any calls, but we get emails from people, or people make comments on our Facebook page and things like that. So we try to engage that way. Wonderful.
So, the next question. So I'm not going to put you on the spot again. Don't worry. It's a very, very easy one. So why do you think that, specifically your industry, why do you think that the role of women, should change compared to what's happening today, according to your experience, obviously?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of women on the news side, but actually people hosting a show like I do, there aren't a lot of women. I still think it's male dominated, because I still think that the demo is male when we're looking at ratings, and the advertisers still want the men as opposed to the women. But there are a lot of women who listen, and there are a lot of women out there, and they have the dollars to spend. I mean, they work and they have their own money to spend. And I think there need to be more people like me hosting shows, and not just, all men, because I think women want to hear themselves, and hear their viewpoint.
But that women actually are responsible for influencing 85% of all consumer purchasing decisions. So regardless, there should be more women that listen and more women that are on the air, because they want to hear your thoughts. They want to hear, they're going to spend the dollars anyway. So the sponsors should be aware of that as well.
Well, I have a lot of sponsorships. I've been very blessed and very lucky to be able to endorse a lot of products, because as a host, you can do that. As a news person, you really can't do that. But as a host of a show, you can do that. And it's been really nice to have advertisers who request me and want to have me on selling their products. So that's been really nice for me and for the people I endorse.
So let's go back to 3 a.m. Every morning. I mean, that alone is kind of a superhero achievement on my mind. I mean, we typically, let's say 80 to 90% of the people wake up, I don't know, maybe between 6 and 7, something like that, 6 and 8 maybe, to go to work starting at 9. So 3 a.m. How do you see the world at 3 a.m.?
Through very bleary eyes. No, there are so many people who do shift work, though, in today's day and age. It's not a 9-to-5 world anymore, especially with the internet, and people are working with clients overseas or in different time zones. That there are a lot of people who are getting up at that hour, or they're getting up to start their day to exercise or do whatever. You just have to be really disciplined, and you have to learn how to say no. People know that about my schedule, and it has to be something really, really, really important for me to do it in the evenings. I mean, if it involves my kids, I'll do it. But a lot of times I just have to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. It starts at 7:30 because I'm in bed, and I have to be really disciplined, or else I'm not getting the proper rest, and I can't do my job and be on top of my game every morning. So I've learned to have to say no. And it's not always easy, but I do that, and I go to bed at a decent hour, hopefully by 8 at night. And when the alarm goes off, I usually get up pretty quickly and get moving. Not always. Sometimes I hit the snooze, not often, but occasionally. So I think when you work that kind of shift, you just have to be disciplined, and you just, like I said, learn how to say no. that's the best thing that you can do to yourself, because you have to burn both ends of the candle. People do, but you really can't.
That's so funny, because my show yesterday was about saying no with confidence. That's what we have to do.
And I believe me, I've been in situations where I've walked out of things, and someone once said to me, well, I was with my kids at an event and I had to leave to get to bed, and in front of about 100 people, the guy on the microphone said, oh, and where are you going? And I had to say, well, I get up at 3 in the morning. I need to go to bed. Thank you. So and off I went.
Of course.
So I can share the news with you. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
So let me ask you a question. You're in what you call the entertainment business. You're on radio. You're very popular. Did you ever think of going on TV and being an anchor on TV or something like that?
I did. I tried to make the switch early in my career, and had an opportunity in Maine, but it didn't work out. And then, my husband's also in television. So for the two of us to move around, it was sort of difficult for me to get into TV. And I found out that I rose much quicker as a female in radio than I would in television, because there were fewer really good women in radio. It's hard to find good women in radio, because most of them do transition to television as they want to be on TV. There's nothing wrong with that. I have worked in TV behind the scenes, but I got to tell you, I really like radio a lot better. The immediacy of it, the fact that I don't have to do my hair and makeup so much. Although we do a Facebook Live segment now, so I do have to look a little better. I can't just roll out of bed. But that part is nice, because having to get up at 2 a.m. to do makeup and hair, it would not be my thing.
According to your experience, you say that most of the women in radio try to transition fast to TV. So what do you think that makes a good radio host, female radio host?
Being honest, having a good voice, but not necessarily having a news voice. Just being conversational, being able to laugh, just being very comfortable, being able to communicate and tell a story. Really. Yeah. Because that's what we do every single day, is just tell story after story after story, and be a good listener, and being able to ask good questions.
Right.
You really have to listen to your guests. You may have, a list of questions prepared, but you don't always follow that list in that order, and you have to react to what the person is saying. So you really need to listen to what that person is saying. And sometimes when you're doing an interview, the way you go or where you end up really surprises me, because I wasn't expecting to hear something, or I wasn't expecting someone to say something, and it leads you in a whole new direction that you anticipated. So in that way, it's exciting and fun.
And it makes it for a more interesting conversation, because neither one of you expected that. And it's just something that was little that was said that you can really, take notice. I like to investigate, I'm a detective when I have guests that come onto the show. And sometimes I find these little tiny factoids, and I'll mention it and they'll go, how did you find that? And that's always fun for me. But I will tell you, I watched your Facebook Live a couple of times, and my producer asked if I would do a live. It wasn't Facebook Live, but just to do live. And the person that I had on said something that was so funny, and I was drinking a cup of tea that I almost spit it out. And this was on camera.
But you know what? That's you being real and authentic. And a lot of times we like to call it, peel back the curtain.
Layer. Yeah.
And we'll just bring on air and off air conversation that we'll have, or we'll just say, oh, this is what, was happening this morning off the air, but that's real life. Yeah. That's how people really are. And people really like that.
Well,
and
she
like
called
to
me
see that and hear that.
She called me a strategist. I mean, there's nothing funnier than that.
Yesterday, since former President George H.W. Bush passed away, I have a Secret Service friend of mine who we have on the air periodically, and he covered Barbara and George H.W. Bush for many years and protected them. And he came on and he told us, his experiences and his thoughts and his remembrances on the former president. And I've talked to him at great length, and he's told me a lot of stories. And I kind of put him on the spot about him telling me a story that I kind of felt bad about asking him, but it was about when he was at Texas A&M with the president, and the president was visiting his final resting spot, and and the conversation that the two of them had. And it was a very private and personal conversation. And so I asked the question because I knew it would make great radio. And then I kind of felt bad about it after, and I apologized for putting him on the spot. But he said, you know what? Thank you for asking that question, because I really wanted to tell that story. So a lot of times, you know, we'll ask a question and not be so sure that we're asking the right question, but you do it anyway in the hopes that you'll get a really good answer. And that's exactly what we got, was a really true, heartfelt answer that turned into great radio.
So do you ever cover any stories that are really difficult for you to have a conversation because it's either personally challenging or it's just so upsetting? And I mean, do you ever get to that point where you really have to like take a deep breath because you don't know if you can continue the conversation? Not that anybody can really see you, but they can hear it.
Anything that involves like kids that are killed, like the school shootings and things like that. You know, because I have my own kids, and to me, it's just horrible. In fact, we made the decision in Connecticut when there was a school shooting there. Everybody else was playing the 911 tapes from the school shooting, and Dave and I made a conscious decision. I'm not doing that. I refuse to do that. I didn't think everyone knows what happened. You don't need to hear that. It's just a sickening type of thing to me. So we made the decision not to play those tapes. So to me, those are the hardest stories. Or when you're interviewing a parent who has a missing child or something like that. To me, that's just the worst of the worst.
How do you pick the news that you're going to share with your audience, Amy?
Well, we have a producer who's part of our morning show team. And we have a morning show meeting every morning where we decide where our morning reporter is going to go and maybe what some of our big stories are that we're going to cover. And then the night before, we do a lot of preparation. I mean, we'll sit around, Dave and I, separately at our own homes, doing research for 2 to 3 hours every night, trying to find good talkers and good stories that we want to tell the next day. And then we collaborated on the next morning. He's like, oh, I found this. And I'm like, oh, I found this. And then we decide where to place them in the show throughout the day. And I always say life is show prep, because something will happen to me at the grocery store. And you know what? Everyone can relate to it, because it probably has happened to you, Judy, and Angel, it's probably happened to you, or it's happened to your mother, or it's happened. So I'll tell the story because people can relate to it. So a lot of the show is just our life experiences.
And going back to the point that there's not many like good, female radio hosts. Would you say that one of the reasons might be that it's also a male dominated industry?
Yeah, I mean, I would, but I think a lot of it is a lot of the women are drawn to the TV part of it too. I mean, there are a lot of good news people, but I don't know that many show hosts. But I haven't really done my research. I mean, I haven't gone through every market in the country, So, but it's sometimes fun being the only woman too, in a way.
Yeah, yeah. But it's also something that you get to really put your own spin on, because you're not being compared to you're the next one after you or before you or in the next town or whatever. This is you. And I don't think anybody's looking at you because you're the only female. I think they're looking at you because you're a really good host.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Shonda Rhimes, when she won her award for Best Director, Producer, whatever, she was the first female to win that award. And she said, I just want to be the best director or the best producer. Why do I have to be the first female to do that? And I think in your case, even though you are the only female in, a certain amount of, miles or whatever, or states or whatever, I think that because you're so good at what you do, they don't say, well, she's really good for a woman. You know what I mean? They say she's really good for a host. Right. And I think that's a really big comment that speaks volumes for what you do.
And I think Dave and I are a really good team too.
Angel, so across the world, do you know if there's a lot of female radio show hosts?
to be honest, when I was in the rest of the world, as you said, I would have connections. I mean, I would have a lot of interaction with media because I was the spokesperson for the company I was working with.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like very, like, you know, it was a very niche kind of media. So I'm not, you know, I'm not really able to share or to, I mean, in the high, it was in the high tech industry. So, but I have to say, most of the journalists, reporters, even hosts were women. Most of them, like probably like 80-90%, honestly.
Is that in TV, on the TV side?
Well, it was magazines, it was TV, and it was radio. But again, it was like a niche, right? It was the high tech industry, and that's very interesting because the high tech
it's mostly male.
Exactly. So that was interesting. But yeah, I wanted to actually, now that you obviously have something in common besides being friends, and I would like to ask that question to both of you because you both are part of the Walking on the Glass Floor initiative, which is going to change the corporate world forever. And I would like to ask Amy, what made you be in that initiative? Why do you see yourself in there?
Well, I've only had male role models in my career, very few female role models to look up to, and I think it's important that women have role models. And I try to help other women who are younger than me, get jobs and learn the industry and things like that. And I think that's very important. But I've also had men who have championed me and who have helped me in my career. And I think that's an important side too. Especially my husband will tell you that I'm the biggest star of the family, even though he's a TV reporter. So he's my biggest champion. So I think that's very important for females to have someone to mentor them, other females, but also to have men help them along the way and not be afraid to help them along the way.
What do you think, Judy?
Well, I think she's 100% right. I think that the point of the matter is that there are more women needed in leadership positions because it's a different perspective that you bring to the table. But if you think that you could do it 100% only female doing it, it's not going to happen. Because remember, a lot of the companies don't have women in that level to be your mentor. So you have to have male mentors. And if you don't think that there are men that want to help women, that want to champion women, that want to advocate for women, that want to be the person to support, you're wrong, because it has to be. There was an article that I was just going to tell you about. Who put it out? I think it was either the Wall Street Journal or, wait a minute, let me tell you what it was called. And I was going to say that, this is something that is going to hurt a lot of what's going on. It says, a Wall Street rule for the Me Too, for the hashtag Me Too era, avoid women at all costs.
We did a segment on this morning.
Okay.
And we talked about this exact same thing this morning. And it's very disheartening because now all these men don't even want to deal with women, don't even want to talk to women at work because they're afraid of what's going to happen. And you're going to have all these men retreating and not want to even deal with women. Right. And that's a complete wrong direction.
Right. And it's an unexpected consequence of hashtag Me Too.
They're calling it the Mike Pence effect because he made the comment that he would not go to dinner with another female unless it was his wife.
Yes. Right.
Because, people, and rightly so. I mean, men in the business world are afraid of being wrongly accused because you see everything that's happened to men who have been accused. They lost their jobs instantaneously. So men don't want to be a part of that anymore.
Right. And so, Angel, in response to your question, so there is a need for more women in leadership, and there is a need for men to champion them. And then from the, all the way from this side, you get this article. And that's what they've done surveys, they've done research. And so now men don't want anything to do with women. Well, it's going to set everybody back. It's not just going to set women back. It's going to set the men back as well. So what do? You have to redefine culture, which is what we all talk about. And we have to make sure that it's inviting to women, but also inviting to men. And again, you can't forget them. What do you think about that article? Angel?
Well, I haven't read the article, so it's the first time I hear about it. Obviously, I mean, I have to say that let's say I'm from Spain, but I consider myself also a Latino. So, I mean, the distances between men and women in general in the workplace are so small in the Latino world. I mean, you are allowed to touch, and I mean, there's a lot of things that culturally are accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can really like joke about many different things without being accused by anybody that your intentions are different. You know, so I mean, I've always had extraordinary relationships, and besides championing women in the workplace, but it's very simple. I mean, it's very common that you joke about things and you just don't give it a lot of energy. You don't give it a lot of importance. It's just a joke, you know. I mean, it's just.
Oh, we're that way in the newsroom too. I mean, when you're in the news business, you joke about a lot of things too, and you just sort of let it roll off your back because that's just the way it is.
And exactly. And what happens if someone, you know, takes it the wrong way and they send a message to you, Amy, saying, "Hey, that comment wasn't appropriate," or whatever? I mean, you develop a thick skin, don't you?
Oh yeah, I've been told all kinds of things.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think that at the end of the day, I mean, and I think obviously the education plays a big role here, but don't take things personally. Don't be judging everything that happens and that you hear around you. You know, it's just wrong. You know, it's not that everything around you has been said to try to hurt you. You know, so maybe the question I would like to say is how do we now help men that don't want to be alone with women in the workplace? You know, that's the question. How can we help them so that doesn't become an issue? Because again, we go like from one side of the pendulum to the other,
right?
So easily because someone obviously very important in this country made a comment, right?
Right.
Maybe that's the question. And if you ask me, I don't know. I think that exactly there has to be a tough conversation going on. That's what I would do. I mean, you talk about culture. Absolutely, there have to be tough conversations saying, "Hey, I mean, we've been, you know, living all together in this company, you know, uneventfully, and nothing has happened, and we've been respectful, and we've championed each other. You know, let's keep it this way. I mean, we don't have to be sidetracked by a comment that, you know, might be misinterpreted in the workplace, you know."
You mentioned respect, and I think respect is the key here. Is respect,
right.
You know, someone's space, respect someone. You know, just don't say anything, you know, negative or nasty to anybody, and watch your emails and watch how you communicate. And I think you'll be successful in the workplace whether you're a man or a woman.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to be one-on-one in a private room to mentor each other. You can be in a large room. You can be sitting, you know, you could be anywhere. It doesn't mean that you have to have that where it looks like it could be a compromising position. If that's what is part of it, then just don't be in a closed room one-on-one.
Meet at Starbucks or whatever.
Something like that. You know, even if you think about it, over the last probably 10 years or so, doctors do not go into an examination room by themselves, male or female. There's always someone there. There's a nurse, there's a student, there's someone that's there because someone somewhere said that you did this and it was inappropriate. And so rather than, I mean, they have very high insurance rates that they pay for malpractice and everything else. So rather than doing that, there's always another person there. So, I mean, yes, I know that mentoring is one-on-one, private, and you're sharing some stuff, but it doesn't have to be in a closed office. There's one piece of it, you know? So I don't know. There's lots of different ways that you can encourage men to continue working with women, but you also have to have those tough conversations.
It also works both ways. My husband had a female mentor who was a prominent political journalist in Syracuse when he was in college and just coming out of college. So it works both ways.
Absolutely.
But she taught him amazing things about the business and about reporting and about the industry.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what we're going to miss. That's what we're going to lose, is not getting the experience from somebody. So Angel, let's ask you the question. Why are you involved in Walking on the Glass Floor? What does it mean to you?
Well, I've always lived in a very diverse environment all my life. You know, I've worked in more than 33 countries, and I've always, you know, been dealing with many different cultures. So I've kind of being forced myself to understand and to adapt and to be flexible to everybody's opinions, to everybody's cultural differences. So for me, it was very, very natural to join an initiative like the, Walking on the Glass Floor, where, I completely agree that, women have to be treated, equally and not identically. And I also, extrapolate that to many other, diverse groups that are part of our society. So for me, it's something extremely natural. It's something that I have been, pursuing and doing throughout my entire life. So what a better thing to do than consistently approach corporations and individuals that want to change the world this way, that want to make their businesses more profitable, making women and the other diversity groups the main asset in their companies that they are missing. They're missing on that, which seems very obvious, but it's the reality of the world today. So it's very natural for me. So I'm honored to be part of the initiative. Thank you for asking, Judy.
Yes, well, we're excited to have you. So here's a question for you, Angel. So I posted something this morning about the woman who won the biggest award for footballing, which in Europe is actually soccer. And so she's the first woman. She's amazing. And what does the reporter ask her? Do you know how to twerk? Really? So why is that? I mean,
excuse me, what was the question?
Do you know how to twerk?
Oh.
So why? So
he was probably trying to be funny.
And
it's probably what he was trying to do, but he fell flat in his face.
Totally. And all the women are going after him, and even the men are going after him, which is also, a plus to show that men think it was inappropriate as well. But they would never ask a man that question. They would never ask a man that question. In fact, they did a spoof on athletes where they, somebody who was a star in tennis and somebody in soccer and somebody in basketball and football and baseball, and they asked them to twirl. Show me what you're wearing. Oh, do you feel better now that you've lost some weight? How do you do your hair? And they looked at them like, are you crazy? But that's what they ask women. So there's a perfect example, Angel, about how women or men are, like, why are we doing these things? Because that's totally inappropriate, funny or not.
I ask men and women this. Oh, sorry. I ask men and women the same questions.
Right. You can ask them the same questions, but I mean, not
those type of questions.
Yeah.
No, but definitely nobody. Exactly. No. That question would never be made to Cristiano Ronaldo or to Messi. Right. Exactly. So obviously it's a pretty unfortunate, and it means that I don't know. Maybe he was trying to be funny, as you said, Amy, and maybe that means that typically in the environment that particular journalist works, that would be accepted. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, which is obviously so wrong. And it means that, there's a lot of things that have to be spoken and shared and reminded, in this case, hey, there's not only male playing soccer, there's also females. There's also female, and this country is amazing. While here in the Dallas area, any given weekend or even evening, fields are full of ladies, of girls playing soccer, like literally hundreds. It's very easy in North Texas to see, which, by the way, doesn't happen in Europe. Interestingly enough, although Europe probably commands, soccer, the soccer industry. But anyway, we have to start to wrap up. So I would like to first of all ask Amy, where can we find you online?
Well, you can listen online at klif.com. I'm also on Twitter at Amy Chodroff. Should I spell it?
Please do.
It's at AMYCHODROFF as in Frank. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well. I tend to keep my Facebook private for my private friends. So that's how I can be reached.
Awesome. And what about you, Judy? Where can we go, not only to find you, but also to find this amazing initiative called the Walking on the Glass Floor?
Well, you can absolutely positively go to Facebook, Walking on the Glass Floor, because it has a whole page and there's interesting articles and things that we're talking about are on the page. There's also walkingontheglassfloor.com website. You can also look at sellinginAskirt.com, and that takes you right over to Walking on the Glass Floor. So there's all different ways to reach us. And for me personally, I'm at Selling in a Skirt on everything, which will also take you to Walking on the Glass Floor.
Excellent.
And you, Angel?
Yeah, well, it's very easy. You just go to angel@angelribo, RIB as in boy, o.com. And you will easily reach me, and I will respond really, really fast. I am the speedy Plano inhabitant. Plano is the place in Texas where I happen to live. So, well, I have to say thank you very much. It's been an amazing conversation with you,
Absolutely.
Amy. It's been a blessing.
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Judy, for being with us again.
You too, Angel.
It's been a blessing. And again, this is Angel Ribo with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much, everybody, for being with us today, and hope to see you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.